What just happened today, folks, is huge. This is a seismic shift. A massive Trump court victory has just rewired the future of Social Security. And if you're not ready by October 1st, well, you could be staring at an empty mailbox and a vanished check. Now, think about that just for a second, okay? For decades, Washington funneled your tax dollars into activist slush funds, climate scams, and left-wing pet projects. That gravy train just hit a wall, and now the fallout, it's landing squarely on Social Security. Now, President Trump, he promised to drain the swamp. The court ruling that just dropped chopped off one of its biggest tentacles, but it actually comes with a twist. Social Security itself is being transformed forever. No more paper checks, no more business as usual. You've got two choices to make before October 1st. And if you pick wrong, or if you don't pick anything at all, you could be left behind. Now, let me warn you, this goes way beyond paper checks, guys. We're talking about COLA reforms, a looming solvency crisis, and brand new legislation that could guarantee that your benefits are there, or it could slash them by 25% if you don't prepare. So I hope you guys are paying attention. You might want to grab a pen and paper, take some notes. But yeah, if you appreciate the news updates, hit the like button and subscribe. We're going to talk about how President Trump's court victory just kneecapped the climate lobby and shifted billions of dollars back towards seniors. This is huge. And why the executive orders ending Social Security checks in the mail once and for all, and the three moves that Congress is floating right now that could permanently change your retirement future. Now, stick with me, guys, because what happens between now and October 1st could absolutely determine whether you're safe or whether you're left scrambling. Now, under President Trump, America's rebuilding at lightning speed, but don't think for a second that the swamp is going away quietly. No, of course not. So while President Trump is securing victories for people, Democrats, climate activists, and their media allies are scrambling to hold on to billions of dollars that they've siphoned off for years. Now, here's the double crisis that you need to understand, okay? Now, first, there's a massive courtroom win for President Trump, just slammed the brakes on the climate funding pipelines. Billions of dollars that were being funneled into these green slush funds, well, they've been frozen in their tracks. Second, the ruling has collided head on with Social Security, guys. I'm talking SSI, SSDI. If you're receiving Social Security, just drop a Social Security comment down below. Now, the program that nearly 70 million people are relying on, it's getting reshaped in ways you just can't ignore. And so here's the kicker. If you don't act by October 1st, your Social Security check may never arrive on time. Now, I want to break down exactly why this is happening and why, more importantly, what you need to do to prepare. But first, I do want to talk about the court case that set this all in motion. Now, just days ago, a federal court delivered what many, are saying may be the single biggest legal victory of President Trump's second presidency so far. So the case targeted what many insiders call the climate slush fund. Billions of dollars, specifically taxpayer dollars, were disguised as environmental programs, quietly redirected to activist groups, NGOs, and lobbyists. Now, for years, they told you Social Security was running out of money. But let me know if you're one of the people who believe that Congress was secretly borrowing from the Social Security fund all along with no intent of paying it back. But somehow, they always had endless billions for wind farms, solar panels, and these global climate conferences. Well, that scheme is now dead. President Trump and his team took it to court, and the judges sided with him. In fact, the pipeline of taxpayer cash to activist networks, it's been cut off. This wasn't just about climate change. It was about exposing how your money was hijacked for political causes instead of protecting seniors and keeping Social Security solvent. So I'm kind of thinking like this might be part of why a lot of folks, especially Social Security recipients, believe that Congress was secretly stealing money from the Social Security fund for their own pet projects. You know what I'm saying here? And so here's where the tension spikes. That victory means Social Security is now being forced into a major transition. The old ways of doing business are gone. Now, for decades, Washington ran on essentially corruption and kickbacks. President Trump has ripped that rug out from under them. But now that fallout is hitting Social Security directly, and if you're not ready, you could be left behind. Now, most people just assume that their Medicare plan is fine, right up until they find out that it isn't. That false sense of security is costing thousands of retirees every single year. And so this is why Chapter exists. Their advisors dig deeper, they review every single plan, and they show you what your insurer will not. Guys, this is why I partnered with Chapter. Now, one reviewer said, I thought I was okay. Turns out I was overpaying by $100 a month. So the real question is, are you okay with probably fine? Or do you want certainty like most people who have already called Chapter? Now, most people, they're dialing the phone number at the bottom of your screen right there, or they're going out to the website and visiting them directly at askchapter.org/Ron. I left a link down below, but the phone number is 909-563-8279. And it's a completely free phone call for the Ron Yates community. So tell them Ron says hello. Anyway, back in March of this year, President Trump signed an executive order that is now set to completely change how Social Security benefits are delivered. Now, for decades, millions of Americans, they got used to seeing their checks arrive in the mail. Let me know if you still get your Social Security check in the mail. I think most people are getting direct deposit now. But that era ends on September 30th, 2025. So how many more days is that, right? You can do the math. After that date, the Social Security Administration will no longer send paper checks through the Postal Service. Okay, so this means that roughly 500,000 Americans who still receive benefits by mail, they're at risk if they do not act immediately. Now, the change affects both Social Security retirement, SSA, disability payments, that's SSDI. For those who have already switched to direct deposit, nothing changes. But for the hundreds of thousands who still rely on a paper check in the mail, the clock is ticking. Now, the administration has already given people two paths forward. On the one hand, it's to open up an account with a bank or credit union, then register with the Social Security Administration, the SSA, to have benefits deposited directly into that account. Now, this is the most common method that allows beneficiaries to have their money automatically placed into a secure account on payment day. But the second option, this is the Direct Express debit card. Now, this is a prepaid debit card. It's backed by the U.S. government. It was created for people who either do not have a bank account or would just prefer not to open one. Now, with Direct Express, payments are loaded directly onto the card each and every single month. And the card can be used like any other debit card to withdraw cash or to pay for goods and services. Now, for seniors who may not be very familiar with these online systems, the government has provided the Go Direct website as their central place to make this change. So this official Go Direct website, it allows people to sign up for either direct deposit or the Direct Express card. Forms can be downloaded and mailed in, or enrollment can be completed completely online or over the phone. So there are options, but you don't want to wait. So the consequences of ignoring this deadline, they're rather significant. So if beneficiaries do not act, they will not receive a paper check after September 30th. Now, that means that their benefits will not arrive on time. Now, for seniors who are depending on that money for rent, for groceries, medication, and whatnot, even a short delay could cause a significant hardship. Now, I don't want anybody to, have their life disrupted because they didn't get their payments on time. So I felt like, this is some good, helpful information that my community could benefit from. Maybe you know someone who's getting Social Security who doesn't even know about this. Maybe you need to share this with them, someone from church, maybe an elderly neighbor or someone. Anyway, so families and caregivers, they need to make sure that their loved ones know about this change and can help them to prepare before the deadline hits. So, of course, the reasoning behind this executive order, it's tied directly to President Trump's broader agenda of cutting waste, fraud, and abuse across government programs. This was the main basis behind the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency group led by Elon Musk. Now, the facts are clear. Paper checks are expensive and they're risky. Every time a paper check is issued by the Social Security Administration, it costs about 50 cents to produce and to mail it. Now, in comparison, an electronic payment through direct deposit costs about 15 cents. Now, you would think that it would be even less than 15 cents since it's just like basically the equivalent payload of an email. But I digress. So when you multiply that difference times the millions of checks that the government processes, the savings quickly add up to tens of millions of dollars every single year. So that is definitely very good news that the SSA, the Social Security slush fund, is able to save that money, because it would prolong the length of time that the Social Security Administration can continue to pay 100% of the benefits. But security, that's another factor. Paper checks are way more vulnerable to theft, to fraud, and loss. According to federal data, a paper check is 16 times more likely to be lost or stolen than an electronic payment. Seniors waiting for their benefits, they have had their checks intercepted, aka stolen, in the mail, altered, or even cashed fraudulently. So the electronic system virtually eliminates those risks, ensuring that payments arrive faster and more securely. Now, of course, there's always some risk no matter what you do. I want to ask you guys, comment paper or direct deposit down below in your answer. I want to ask you this. Do you think it is more risky that a hacker steals your electronic payment, or do you think it's more risky that someone breaks into your mailbox and steals your paper check? So if you think that the direct deposit is more risky because of hackers, just type in hacker. If you think that having your paper check stolen is more risky, just type in paper check stolen, because I'm curious to know what you guys think on that one, because cybersecurity is a real situation nowadays, and it's going to become more and more important as the years go by, as we become more and more reliant on paperless banking and paperless systems. You know, obviously the government at some point, the Federal Reserve, has intent to introduce CBDCs into the banking system. So these are legitimate concerns, and I get it. Anyway, critics are arguing that forcing seniors to adapt creates unnecessary disruption, especially for older Americans who are not necessarily comfortable with the technology or the banking systems. But the Trump administration's position is that the benefits far outweigh the inconvenience. Electronic payments are faster, they're safer, they're cheaper, and they help protect Social Security's long-term sustainability by cutting these unnecessary expenses. So this kind of move, this move here really mirrors the same principles that we saw in President Trump's recent court victory. In both cases, the message is the same. Taxpayers and taxpayer money should not be wasted, and it should not be misused. So whether it's billions of dollars being funneled into these climate activist programs or millions being lost due to outdated paper checks, the goal is to shut off the drain and keep resources focused on serving Americans. So by eliminating paper checks, Trump isn't just modernizing Social Security's payment system. He's actually closing a loophole that left seniors vulnerable and taxpayers footing an unnecessary bill. This is part of a much larger pattern of reforms that's designed to make the system leaner, safer, and more accountable. And so the court's decision and President Trump's executive order, they have not gone unnoticed. Climate activists and left-leaning organizations are absolutely furious. Now, for years, their projects were sustained by taxpayer money, disguised as environmental spending. Now, with that funding pipeline cut off, many of these groups now face major losses in influence and resources. Leaders in the activist space have argued that the administration is undermining the fight against climate change. But supporters of the ruling, they're pointing out the imbalance. While seniors are being told that Social Security was in danger, billions were being directed to programs that had very little accountability. So the ruling actually reestablishes priorities, putting taxpayer funds back towards protecting benefits instead of fueling these activist causes. And so another important change is taking shape in Congress right now, guys. A bill has just been introduced that would establish a guaranteed 3% minimum cost of living adjustment for Social Security. Now, in the past, there have been years where COLA was either zero, like no increase, or well below the rate of inflation. I don't think that sounds very fair. Does that sound fair to you? Anyway, leaving seniors struggling to try to keep up with the cost of living and rising prices. So, for example, if you look at 2021, right? The sent me this thing in the mail. Anyway, if you look at 2021, the adjustment was only 1.3%, And there were multiple years in the last 2 decades where COLA was set to zero. Now, meanwhile, inflation on everyday goods and services continue to climb. So the new proposal would make sure that benefits rise by at least 3% annually, regardless of economic conditions, and would allow for higher increases when inflation is stronger. So this reform would represent a significant shift in how Social Security is adjusted, providing seniors with greater protection against inflation and making sure that their benefits do not stagnate during periods of economic pressure. Now, for years, experts have warned that by 2032, the Social Security Trust Fund will be depleted. Now, if nothing's done, benefits would automatically be cut by 25% because the program would be forced to pay out only what it collects from payroll taxes. That reduction would impact both current retirees and future beneficiaries. Now, to address this looming shortfall, a bipartisan proposal has gained momentum. Senators Bill Cassidy of Louisiana and Tim Kaine of Virginia, they have introduced the idea of a $1.5 trillion investment fund. Now, the plan calls for Congress to invest $300 billion per year over 5 years into a diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, and other assets. Now, this fund would then be given decades to grow and compound, and with the dividends and the earnings used to help stabilize Social Security's finances long term. Now, this plan would also require a change in existing law, which currently mandates that benefits be cut if revenue falls short. By creating an investment pool and allowing the government to borrow against it, the proposal aims to preserve full benefits for seniors even when payroll tax revenues isn't enough to cover costs. So, while these long-term reforms work their way through Congress, the immediate concern for seniors is the upcoming October 1st deadline. Because beginning September 30th, mark your calendars, guys. Beginning September 30th, 2025, Social Security paper checks will no longer be mailed. Beneficiaries have to act now in order to make sure that they're not, so that their payments are not interrupted. So the Social Security Administration has laid out two clear options. One, you got to open an account with a bank or credit union and sign up for direct deposit. Two, enroll in the Direct Express debit card program. This is a government-backed card that's designed specifically for benefits payments. So the enrollment process could be completed online through the official Go Direct website or by contacting the Social Security Administration directly. Now, those who do not complete the process, they risk having their payments delayed or even stopped entirely. Nobody wants that, right? So it is especially important for family members and for caregivers to help older seniors who may not even be aware of these changes, okay? So if you have an older friend, a neighbor, church buddy, a golfing friend, make sure that you share this video with them so that they know what's coming down the pipeline. The deadline is firm, and missing it will absolutely have some serious financial consequences. Now, President Trump's courtroom victory has done more than end a climate slush fund. In fact, it has exposed how taxpayer money was misused, redirected priorities back toward protecting seniors, and triggering sweeping changes to the way that Social Security operates. Now, if you combine this with the executive order ending paper checks, this marks a permanent shift in how benefits are delivered and how they're secured. Now, October 1st, it's not just another date on the calendar, guys. This is the line in the sand where the old system ends and the new one begins. So be prepared, okay? Now, for seniors, this means making sure that your benefits are set up electronically through direct deposit or the Direct Express debit card. Now, for the country, it means Washington's wasteful spending is being reined in and redirected. The future of Social Security will continue to depend on reforms like the guaranteed COLA proposal, and of course the long-term investment fund that's designed to prevent a 2032 crisis. But today, the immediate responsibility is very clear: act before the deadline. That way, your benefits continue without interruption. Now, America is without a doubt, America is changing. The corruption that drained resources for years is being dismantled. Social Security is being reshaped in all sorts of ways that will impact every retiree and every family. Now, if you prepare now, your benefits are safe. But if you ignore the risks, well, the changes are real and so are the risks. So the bigger picture here is this. President Trump's court victory wasn't just about politics. It was about protecting your future. And October 1st is the moment where every American beneficiary has to make sure that they're ready for what comes next. YouTube believes that you're going to really enjoy the video that just popped up on your screen right there. Click that one and I'll see you on the other side.